Kirsten Peachy, and I'm the Director for Faith and Health Partnerships for Advocate Aurora Health. And we're very excited to be able to provide this introduction to support teams. This is not the full workshop. You will not know how to do a support team by the end of this webinar, but it's an introduction, a taste of what this program is about. So, and then we plan to have some follow-up workshops, full workshops to come later this fall and early in 2020. Our presenters will also give you information on how you can schedule with them directly if you want to bring this to your congregation or into your setting wherever you are. We are recording this webinar so that we can have it available for people to watch later. So just so that you are aware that we are recording. This will be posted then later on the website. We probably will not go the full hour today. Depends on how much discussion there is. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I think we should have plenty of time for discussion. Support teams, and you'll hear obviously more about it shortly, is a model that was developed at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, initially as a support system for people with HIV and AIDS. But it's spread across the country and is now used for people with any kind of challenge that they might be facing. And part of the reason that I'm excited about bringing it is because I've found it to be a very effective way to spread out care across congregations that are often stressed with a lot of needs. And so it's a way to share the care. It's a way to really support volunteers so that volunteers don't get burned out. And it's a way to feed them as well and build community among the volunteers. It also is a model that really supports good boundaries, which I think is really important as well for our helping that we do within congregations. And it blends well with other programs like Stephen Ministers or visitation of the sick, such as Behor Chulim in the Jewish tradition or Yada in the Islamic tradition, deacons, meal programs, that kind of thing. So you'll hear more now from our presenters. Really excited to be able to work with Marianne Kyle and Henrietta Ribeiro. They are experts in support teams and have been leading this work in their own settings for many years, and also have been training nationally with congregations around the country in support teams. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Marianne and to Henrietta.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you, Kirsten. We appreciate that wonderful introduction.
Yes.
We're so excited to have you here today. One thing we'd like to ask you is throughout today, we're going to ask for your input. We're going to ask questions, and we would love for you to be able to answer them and respond to them just by using the chat. And we can watch the chat and check for your responses to see where your answers.
So here's our outline for today. So as Kirsten was saying, we're going to give you a support team overview today. So that will teach you a little bit about the team approach, how the team principles and structure work together. We'll talk about the 4 different types of teams, and of course, teams' do's and don'ts. The importance of boundaries and team meetings is essential for a good running support team program, so we'll address that. And then we'll tell you more about some of the training opportunities, like Kirsten said, that we'll have coming up for that as well.
So a little bit about us. I am Marianne Kyle, and this is Henrietta, who's with me, and we are Intentional Energy 3. We're partners when we create customized workshops, seminars, and events designed to inspire and educate and connect those who participate. Our information about how to contact us will be at the end of this webinar, and we encourage you to go there and you can find out all about the programs that we do offer. A little fun fact, just to give you a little insight into us, about each one of us. For me, I love to camp, and I have a mini RV that my husband and I use, and we are planning to retire soon, and we're going to full-time RV.
That's right. And a fun fact about me is that we have just adopted a kitten who is about 6 months old, and we think he's part little demon because he's teething and all he wants to do is chew on you and wrestle with you, which makes our life a little exciting and very exciting for our older cat, who, as Marianne told me, probably needs his own support team at this point to deal with his younger brother.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right.
All right. So here's a quote that we found that is a really good reminder of what support teams are. And it really fits the idea of support teams. And that is that we never should believe that a few caring people can't change the world. For indeed, that's all who ever have. So all the people who have ever changed the world were few people who cared. Many times we're overwhelmed with the burdens of the world. We're overwhelmed with the needs for care in our own communities, in our own homes sometimes. And we wonder, how much can we really do? How much can I really do? I'm just the one person. And that also reminds me of the whole idea of the 3 feet of influence and just how much influence we really do have. We have about 3 feet of influence around us. So we can control ourselves and about 3 feet of the people and the circumstances that we come into. So think about the people that you deal with every day. Maybe it's your family members, maybe it's your coworkers, maybe it's people at the grocery store that you see. How much change can you yourself make in those person's lives? Maybe it's the people you care for that you deal with every day. And the people that you make a change for will then take that change and multiply it in their own 3 feet of influence. And that is indeed how we can then change the world.
All right. Kirsten already talked a little bit about support teams and where they started. They did start in 1994 in Birmingham, Alabama at the University of Alabama, Birmingham's hospital. They were started by Malcolm Marler, who was the head chaplain there. And they were created for people with HIV. Just imagine that having an HIV virus, and during the time in the 90s, the fear that was around it and the misinformation. So what support teams, when it was developed, tried to do was find a way to educate people on the virus and how to care for those who had it. And so when they first started this, it started to grow and it became a national program. And the reason why it became a national program is because it's simple and it's a proven approach that we know that works. It's been going on since 1994, so it's been a while. I think the key thing with support teams is every day there are teams that are making the difference in someone's life. In addition to that, the teams are making a difference in each other's lives just by serving on this team. So with support teams, you ask people to do what they love to do, when they have the time to do it, in a coordinated way. They have defined jobs, they have a defined person they're caring for, and there's regularly scheduled communication and education.
Exactly. So we have a question for you. Take a moment to look at the list on the screen. Have you ever been in the hospital or lost a loved one, broken a bone, had a baby or struggled with depression or anxiety, lived far away from your family, or have you ever moved, required long medical treatment? So go ahead and type that into chat. Well, have you ever had a time in your life, maybe it was a small crisis, maybe it was a big one, that you could have really benefited from the kind of care that a support team can provide?
For Henrietta and I, we've both had children.
That's right. And I lived far away from my family
Yeah.
when I had a baby. And I remember what a gift it was for me, for people to just bring me a meal so that I did not have to cook for the rest of my family, and gave me a break. I see some of you have broken a bone, had surgery, was in a hospital briefly, but needed someone else to take care of your mom who had dementia. It's a very lonely time. Yeah, having a baby, having that unexpected hospital stay. And I think a lot of us live far away from family, or have had any kind of medical treatments that we were wondering about how are we going to be taking care of ourselves, or lost a loved one as well. So I can see that, when you think of this list that we have right here and think of the own situations in your own life, you can see how at at any really particular point in our own lives, we could have really benefited from the kind of care that a support team can provide.
Yeah, can you imagine how much easier that life situation would have been if you had people coordinating how to best help you and having your input on what you would like to do and what it needed? It makes so much of a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of you are talking about moving and having caregiver exhaustion,
Yeah.
figuring out, as a congregational leader, what can you do to help meet the needs for care in your own congregations, in your own places. So this is a really good way to do that, is through support teams.
So someone had listed family caregiver exhaustion. I have a great example of a support team. And there was a woman who had dementia, and there was a support team for her, but there was also a support team that was created for her husband, who insisted on doing all of her care. And the support team for her husband was a group of men who got together, who would take him golfing, they'd take him out to lunch, while the support team that was for the woman who had dementia, they would spend time with her. So there's lots of different variations that we can do with these support teams. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Here's my question. I want to take a minute and I want you to think about this and enter in on the chat room so that we know what it is that you love to do. What are you passionate about? What is it that you love to do? Is it cooking? Is it reading? Is it spending time with friends? Do you like driving fast in your car? Maybe not fast. We won't go there.
We won't go there.
Yeah. Are you a good organizer? Do you like shopping? What is it that you love to do? Oh, we got some people who like to golf, reading, gardening. Henrietta is a big gardener.
Yes.
She's a big gardener. I'm very much into reading, and I'm very much into crafts. Organic gardening.
Yes. Talking. Oh, yes, I love to talk too. Painting and gardening. Yes, absolutely. Painting and gardening, I think, sometimes goes together because we just enjoy
paint your garden.
Paint your garden, exactly.
Spending time with friends is an amazing gift.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we ask this question is that what we promote that people do on support teams is what they love to do, what they enjoy doing. And there isn't anything that you guys have listed here or that have been in this chat that isn't something that can be utilized on a support team. If you like to cook, you can make meals. If you like to sing, you can sit and sing and play instruments with someone. If you like to craft, you can take crafts or you can craft with these persons, with the people who need care. There's so much that you can do. And here's the key. If you do what you love to do, if you do what you enjoy on a team for someone, you're going to want to do it. Mm-hmm. You're going to say, oh my gosh, today I've got to go spend time with my support team friend, instead of, oh my gosh, I've got to go over to my friend's house and do this stuff today. That's the difference.
Exactly. So you do what you love to do. And there's a huge benefit to being a part of a team, not just for the people that we care for, but also for the team members. And take a look at the graphic just about on the right-hand side where it says sharing the work. It's just about sharing the work. What do you see when you look at that graphic? Just go ahead and type that into chat. What do you see when you take a look at the graphic above sharing the work? I know one thing that I see is seeing people lifting each other up, holding each other up. You see interconnection, joy and hugs, diversity. Yes, there's a lot of different colors there. Arms around others, positivity and joy.
Okay, I just need to let you all know, I saw check marks.
Because that's who you are.
That's it. I like to make lists. I like to check things out. When we use this graphic, Henrietta goes, what do you see? And I said, check marks. I think things getting checked off my list.
That's right. Well, I did see that support shoulder to shoulder because I'm just so attuned to all that. So there you go. So thank you again for sharing. The reason why we asked this question is because everybody has a different perspective. We all bring different experiences, and we're all different people, and we all bring different gifts to a situation and to a support team. We all share our different passions and perspectives that really make the support team a fun place to be. Let's take a look at coordination and accountability. That's a huge part of what a support team does. It gives you that training and also a covenant how the support team is going to work together. And all members are kept accountable and all tasks are coordinated. I had a situation one time, this was not a part of a support team, but a friend of mine had a baby. And me, as a good friend, I was going to bring her a meal. So I came to her house, brought her meal, and I was holding the baby and playing with the baby for a little while when someone else rang the doorbell and brought a huge meal that was hot from a restaurant. Now, this is a family of 3 people who had just had a baby, so that was their 4th member. But they were inundated with meals. And, you know, I could see on the look of my friend's face, by her look, is that she was being a little overwhelmed with the amount of food that was being brought to her. So this is what a team approach really benefits from, is that coordination to make sure that the person is not overwhelmed with one thing or 2 things, but really looking at their needs holistically and making sure that every need is being met. And then flexibility. Flexibility amongst members is really getting things done when someone who is a part of the team can't do it. So if you can't do something, if you can't be there on that day, letting the leaders know, letting people on your team know that someone else needs to step in and do it, and chances are someone else will step in and do it. So you always do what you love to do when you can do it, and no one is forced to do something that they don't enjoy.
Okay. So I want to also share a story here when we talk about the team approach, about a team that I knew that was for a teenager who was going through severe depression. And on this, the team was intergenerational. They were from 17 years old to in their late 70s years old. And each person on the team brought a little piece. But what the job for the team members were to mentor or to be present or to spend time with this young teen. And so what they did was they would go, and those who like to walk would take the teenager for a walk, or those who like to binge watch TV. If you're into Game of Thrones, you could watch a whole season in 2 or 3 days maybe. But what it was they worked together sharing the work, and they were able to keep busy and spend a lot of time with this team and make them feel cared for and important. Team principles and the example of team structures. The principles we kind of talked about. Do what you can, meaning do what you love to do or you enjoy doing. And here's the important thing, when you can, when you have the time to do it. So members on a team are able to set time limits. I'm able to give 1 hour a week or maybe 1 hour every other week in a coordinated way with a built-in support system. In a coordinated way, when you work on a team with team leaders, all of the work is laid out and coordinated, like Henrietta just mentioned, so you don't have the problem with meals. And within a built-in support system, in support team structure, the things that we teach, and if you come to our trainings, we go through all of this step by step. We give you every piece that you need to know. We talk about a 59-minute meeting. We'll address it later on in this webinar. And that way, the team members can get support from each other, and then the leaders can help them. The example structure of a support team. Let's talk about this. Support teams are fluid. They're flexible. They can fit any scenario, and they can fit pretty much, this program can fit pretty much into any organization. This is the epitome perfect team structure, but this might not be how it might fit in your organization. The first thing is to create a leadership team. The leadership team are the people who bring the program to the organization. They are the people who set the vision and the mission and the focus and goals of the teams, all of the teams. So they're the umbrella over all of the teams. The next is coach. And what coaches do is they're the ones who find the team friends. They're the ones who find the people who receive care. They're also the ones who find the people who will care, or the team members. So the coach will find the care receiver, and then they will find those to care for that person. We have the team leader is the next one. I highly recommend that you do co-leaders wherever possible. That just lightens the load and makes it a lot easier. So we have the co-leaders who actually organize the team and how they work. And then we have the team members, they do the majority of the work, and we have the care receiver. With support teams, the care receiver, we like to call them the team friend, the team friend. So those are the examples of the structure of the support teams. Please understand that this is fluid. It can change and be adapted to each individual situation.
So here's another quote that is really important as we think about how we look at support teams. To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. So think about someone in your own life. Maybe it's a group of people, probably not just one person, who has made a huge difference in your life. Who was it? Was it a teacher? Was it a parent? Was it someone at work? Was it a friend who was there for you at a particularly difficult time in your life? We all have people who have made that kind of difference in our own lives. So it's the small acts of kindness that can really add up and make a huge, giant impact in someone's life. And that's really what support teams are all about.
All right, types of teams. So remember I talked about support teams being fluid, that they can fit different situations and there are different program types. We have 4 types of teams that we talk about. The first is care for individuals. This is where a group of people get together to do what they love to do, to care for a person. So this team would have someone who loves to drive, taking them places, or someone who loves to cook, who are giving them meals, or someone who loves to do laundry, helping them with their laundry. A group of people come together with a team leader caring for an individual. The next type of team that we have is a need-specific team. Now, in a need-specific team, this is where a group of people come together who like to do the same thing. For example, all of the people who like to drive, they would come together and create a team for driving or giving people rides. A group of people who would like to do gardening would come together and help many different people who have needs in their gardens. A group of people who would like to cook would come together and they would cook meals that maybe the drive team would deliver. I don't know. It's all really up to how you set it up and how you do it. The next type is facility care. And this is where a group of people come together to care for a floor or a corner or a part of people in a facility, like in a senior home or in a special needs home or a halfway house. So people will come together and they'll do things like visits, they'll have birthday parties or have holiday parties, or they'll decorate the halls, things like that. I have a great example that I want to share with you about facility care. A friend of mine loves to sing. She got a group of other friends together and they created a facility care team. And what this facility team did was they would go every month to 2 or 3 nursing homes, I don't remember how many, and they would knock on the residents' doors and they would say, hey, would you like some company? Would you mind if we came in and we could sing with you? Do you have any requests? And it got to the point where the residents of the homes that they visited were waiting in the halls when they would come in. They just couldn't wait to see them. And it also got to the point where the people on this team learned a lot of different songs they didn't know when they started, so they could sit down and sing them. They knew everyone's favorites. And it was a great way to show care for others, and it was a great way for them to share their passion of music with others. All right, the last type is a peer care. And peer care is when a group of people with similar life situations come together. So peer care is where a group of people with similar life situations come together. So this might be a group of people who have survived cancer, or a group of people who have all lost a loved one. It could be a group of people who have all survived trauma. And I use that example because I really want to bring something up here. This peer care, or this group for peer care, is not to offer therapy or help or anything like that. It's to support those who have survived and come through getting professional care. That we really need to define lines on what kind of cares we do. We'll talk about that in a bit. But with peer care, when it is people who are dealing with mental health or people who are dealing with trauma, these are just support groups to help each other in their daily lives. So those are the 4 types of teams that we have: care for individuals, needs-specific, facility care, and peer care.
Getting support teams up and running is really not a difficult thing to do. There are 3 key steps to start a support team program in your organization. The first one is you create a leadership team to lead your support team program. Then you identify people who need care and agree to care, and then you find the people for the team. And partly why support teams work so well is because of all the training that we provide for everyone who's involved in support teams. We provide leadership training, team training, and continuing education at each of the monthly meetings. So the training is really key. And we'll talk about exactly how to create a leadership team, how to identify people who need care, and how to find people for the team, and then how to train and continue to train them at some of the trainings that we have coming up later on that we'll be talking about.
All right. What do teams do? Well, teams provide practical support. By practical support, I mean giving rides to the doctor's office visits, or taking them shopping, or getting groceries for them if they can't go out shopping. Practical support is the things that you need help with on your day-to-day life. The next thing is providing emotional support. And when we talk about providing emotional support, we don't mean telling people they need to get better or they're fine, get over it. What we mean is you walk alongside of them, and that the most important thing that you can do is that you listen. So you walk alongside the person and you listen. You provide that emotional support. The third thing is spiritual support. And this is when appropriate, or when it fits into the team and the team member. Spiritual support is very much like the emotional support. You do not pray with them unless you ask them first. You do not tell them that they need to change their faith or things like that. What you do is you walk alongside their spiritual journey, and you are just there so that they're not alone. The key between emotional and spiritual support, the key piece is you listen. You are just a presence, a calming presence there, and you listen. And you just follow the friend's path in life wherever that takes them.
And many times people wonder how listening can really be a support. Now, we all know that listening is a very powerful healing tool because so many times people will just not listen. So to be a listening ear is really a very healing thing to do for someone, and a wonderful gift that you can give to someone is to be a listener. All right, now let's move on to what teams do not do. This is again for the safety of the team friend, the person that we care for in support teams, and also for the safety of the members of the team. The first thing is we do not deal with money. We do not provide financial assistance or support. We do not pay bills. We do not give or loan money. The other thing is medicine and medical care. We do not dispense medicine, and we do not provide medical care. Even if you are a medical health professional, if you are a part of a support team, you're coming in with a very different role. So you are not to do any kind of medical care or dispense medicine. We leave all of that up to the professionals. So we stay out of that, like I said, for the safety of the friends and also for the safety of the members of the team.
All right. Another vital piece of support teams, and one of the things we spend a lot of time on when we do the training, and that is setting and maintaining clear boundaries. And we set and maintain clear boundaries for the team itself, and also for the team and the team friend. And so for the team members, the boundaries we might set is the amount of time they're willing to spend, what tasks they're willing to do, how long they're willing to be on the team. For the care team friend, the support team friend, the boundaries might be, there are people who don't want others in their homes. I mean, and that's very understandable. I'm sure there's days that all of us don't want someone to come into our house. There are members friends who don't like to be touched. A great situation is there are members of their team friends who maybe have specific likes and dislikes when it comes to food. In the support teams training and stuff like that, we have this joke about the green bean casserole rule, and that is bringing food or things to people that they really want and expect, and not something that you think they should have. So if someone likes pizza and Diet Coke and that's all they're going to eat, take them pizza and Diet Coke. Don't force them to eat steamed green beans and chicken when it's not something that they enjoy. So when you maintain the boundaries, when they're clearly set and written out, that's the way that you keep your teams happy and healthy, and that they're a positive for everybody.
One other reason why support teams work well is because we have this 59-minute meeting. So this is a 59-minute meeting that, where the team would meet once a month for 59 minutes or less. So it's a short meeting. This is where they will be provided with the support and the care for the team members to make sure that they are supported and cared for as well. This is a time to communicate if there's any kind of issue that the team needs to discuss all together. This is also where we make sure that the work is being coordinated and coordinated well. And it builds community. We build community among the members. I will never forget walking into a first support team meeting. This was for a family who just moved into our area. And I knew about half the people who were on this support team. I mean, there were probably about 8 or 9 people. I probably knew about 4 of them, a bit better than the rest of them. It took probably about 5 or 6 minutes of sharing what we were all bringing to the team and how we were hoping to serve this family with the gifts that we were bringing, that I got to know these people so well. So I really built community, and I never forgot these people that I worked with on this team, on the support team. And the support team only lasted about 3 months, but we became good friends. So it really builds community. And the other thing is, this would also be a time to provide continuing education for the team. So for example, if you have someone who's going through cancer treatments, you might want to bring in a medical professional who can talk to your team about what it's like for people to be going through cancer treatments, what issues they're facing, their energy levels, maybe some of the emotional and physical limitations that they might be facing. So keeping that team informed and educated as to what the care receiver or the friend might be going through, this would be the time to do it. And that is why it also just ensures the high quality of the teamwork that the team will be doing later on. Do you want to share your example with?
So I have a great example, and that is where our team meeting really helped out. There's this woman, Shirley, who was older, and she had to go to dialysis. And there was a group of men, older men, who were all retired, who would drive her to dialysis 3 or 4 times a week. And all of a sudden, some of the members on this team were sending notes to the leader saying that they really couldn't be on the team anymore. A couple of them dropped off, and nobody knew what was going on. And when they had the team meeting, one of the men decided to share that when they went to go pick up Shirley, that she was never entirely dressed. Because she was older, she didn't have a lot of flexibility, so she couldn't button her buttons and zipper her zippers and put on her coats and her shoes, and that he felt that he was uncomfortable having to touch her and finishing dressing her and stuff like that, which is really understandable. That everyone else at the meeting, all the other men said, yeah, we have the same problem. And it turned out the 2 that left the team also, that was the reason why they truly left the team. So they talked it out, they talked about different solutions, and one of the neighbors who was a friend of Shirley's, she would come every morning and make sure Shirley was totally dressed and ready to go. All the men came back on the team, and then they continued to drive her to get her treatments. But if it wasn't for the meeting, if it wasn't for making sure there were clear and open communication, probably not everybody would have had the comfort level in order to share something like that.
And many times people will hold in this kind of information or not really understand why they don't feel comfortable, or feel like maybe they can't share that with someone, or maybe
they're alone.
Or they're alone in that issue. So this would be a great time, again, then to bring that to a meeting and to talk about it openly and communicate openly, because chances are they're not alone.
All right.
So we gave you a really quick
Let's
overview
talk about
of
community.
Yes.
You're Russian. All right, community. Essential part of the support team is the community it creates with the team members and the community and connection it creates with the team friend. We live in a society right now where loneliness and isolation are key issues. I mean, I've read articles where they've said it's epidemic proportions, that so many people are just shutting down and turning in. This is an amazing program to bring people in to care for those who might be lonely and isolated,
Yes.
but also to invite people in to do one tiny little thing, 1 hour a month or every other week or every week, and to get them out into the community and out interacting. So there's so many gains and wins from being a part of this program. They just offer the opportunity to help people make vital connections and build in relationships. And I have a story to share. We have lots of these little stories, and this I felt was a really cool one.
Yes.
I was a leader of a team. Both Henrietta and I have been team leaders. We've been on teams. We've been the receivers of teams. So we've really been through the whole process of support teams.
Yes, we have.
And Henrietta actually was on this team.
I was.
So I was a leader on a support team for a person who had medical conditions. She was shut in. She was older. And we would give her rides to the doctors. We would go and do her grocery shopping. And we would take her out every once in a while to run an errand here and there. She was just an amazing woman. The interesting thing was, this woman was not only a support team friend, she did not only received care from a team, she also herself was on another support team. And her job on that other support team was she called that team's friend up every day because she's home and she could pick up a phone and she loved to talk. And she would call and make sure that she was okay and everything was going all right, and just do a little check-in with that team friend. I have known of many different teams in which the team leader or leaders were people who were shut in or who couldn't get out, and the meetings were held in their homes or in their facilities. They just needed to have the ability to use the phone and the internet to coordinate the care. So community and bringing people in and having them work on these teams, you can be very creative, and there's a lot of different opportunities out there.
Well, and that is, I think, why it's so much fun to be a part of a support team, is because you get to not only just get to know people, but you're also helping each other, and you're helping someone else in your community who might be lonely, like you mentioned, and really making a difference in their lives as well, and giving them an opportunity to give back also. So we just give you a very quick but pretty thorough overview of what support teams are. So we have some upcoming trainings that we'll be doing through Advocate Aurora. The first one is support team training. This is a training that will give you the ins and outs of how you can run your own support team program in your organization or your congregation. It will give you everything that you need to start and support and grow your support teams. The other one is, we talked about a little bit about how mental health and trauma are kind of its own category because it's such a delicate issue. So we will have a specialized training just on that and how to provide support teams for those who are going through mental health issues or trauma, and give you some of the special knowledge and care that we need exactly for that kind of situation. And the last one is support team train the trainer. So this is where you would basically do what we do. You would become a trainer for those people who are interested in getting support teams up and running in their own communities. If you would like to discuss how your community can really benefit from a support team program, Marian and I would be very happy to get together with you to talk on the phone with you. You will have our contact information at the end of the webinar, just so that you have that in case you're wondering how support teams can really make a difference in your own community.
So Henrietta and I have been involved in support teams for a long time. I've been actually part of teams for over 20 years, and it is such an amazing program that we're really, really important for us to share this and to get it out into the community. And so in knowing this, we really want to thank Kirsten for holding this webinar and for allowing us to share this, for allowing us to share the training and get the ideas out into the community and into your organizations. So we appreciate this opportunity.
You can connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media sites, and of course on our website at intentionalenergy3.com. We have a special corner that is just for support teams on our website. So that's a great way to connect with us.
Excellent. So now what I'd actually like to do is I'd like to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions that they would like to ask, you can type them in the chat or you can unmute and ask them.
How long does an average support team last? That was actually a question that people ask us a lot.
Yeah, so how long does support team last? So they last different for each team. It's an individual program. Some teams set their length at a week, 3 weeks, a month, a year. But when the teams first start, they do set an ending point so that there is no hanging, oh my gosh, I'm on this for the rest of my life. So it just varies by team and by circumstance.
Exactly. We have another great question. Do you consider support teams to be a way to care for those who are internal members of a congregation or an outreach beyond your walls?
Okay, so the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Yes,
yes, yes. And yes.
It's to both. It's to both. I do know organizations that I've worked with who aren't comfortable reaching out. And for those, they just stay within their internal members. But I have to tell you, it is an amazing way to get out in the community and do service. And if it's a congregation or a group that you want to grow, there's no better way to bring people in. Because when you create a support team for someone, you're going to ask that person's neighbors, you're going to ask that person's family, relatives, friends to be a part of that team and to come into your organization for training and information in those meetings. So that's really good.
So another question is, in a large congregation, would there be a multiple support team?
Yeah.
Support teams?
Absolutely.
Yes.
The answer to that is yes. I can give you an example of the church that I go to, which has had support teams for many years. We talked about groups. We have the driving group and the cooking group and all of those different groups. And then also we have teams that come and go throughout the years. And usually there's about 4 or 5 teams going on at the same time. Let's see.
Okay. Are there support teams similar to Stephen Ministry? Okay, so this is a question for me.
Henrietta's a national trainer for Stephen's Ministry, and we are both Stephen ministers.
We're both Stephen ministers. I've been a Stephen leader for over 20 years. Support teams are hands-on. So what they do is hands-on ministry. So they provide meals, they provide rides, they care for the physical needs as well as the emotional and the spiritual needs that of course come with physical needs, but they're mainly there to support the person's daily living. We also make sure that we take care of their emotional needs, of course. Like I said, those two things are together. Stephen Ministry, on the other hand, is very much talking about the emotional and the spiritual needs without doing the physical needs. So in Stephen Ministry, we don't take care of the physical needs. We don't give them rides. You know, again, it's a very specialized area. We meet with them to talk about what's happening in their own lives, the crisis they're going through, and how they're dealing with it emotionally and spiritually. So I hope that answers your questions. Stephen Ministry is there for one-on-one meeting. It's not a team. It's a one-on-one meeting to address emotional and spiritual needs. Support teams are a team of people taking care of the physical and needs, the physical needs for food, for rides, for whatever else the person might be needing.
So we had a couple of questions on the training. The different trainings are a different length of time. The first training, which is the support team nuts and bolts, that's a full day training. The training on training around teens with trauma and mental illness issues, that is a half a day training. And then the train the trainer training is also a full day training. The train the trainer training assumes that you have attended the other 2 trainings and that you want to be an advocate for support teams and bring it to other corporations or churches or community programs outside of where you are.
Okay. So we have another question. So for the dialysis ride group, would you set a time, an end time for, let's say, 6 months, and then
yeah.
form a new group with the same intention?
So I'll give you that example. That exact team, they originally started to do it for 8 weeks, and at the 7-week marker, they re-upped. Some people stayed in the team, some people didn't, and other people came in. So they set it for a short period of time. It ended up that went on for a couple of years. There were some members who stayed the whole time, but it did kind of rotate in and out.
Yes. Our future trainings are not going to be online. They're going to be in person, and we will send you those dates and times for the future trainings for support teams.
So the key thing for the trainings is there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of role plays that get you to practice all of the things that you need to learn. And at this time, we still haven't figured out quite yet how to do it all online, but that's a good question.
Yes.
Does the care recipient ever participate on a 59-minute meeting? Never. Never. That is a safe place for the team. That is where the teams can share, and it's kept in those meetings and amongst themselves what they're feeling and what they're doing as on a team.
So they have a 60-year-old male with mental health diagnosis. His boundaries with women are an ongoing problem in congregational setting. Those of us women who are on his support team have not experienced this by the member. Help. We want consistency if we were integrating him into church and public settings. So I'm not sure.
So he would not come to the meeting.
No.
So the meeting is for the team to support each other.
Right.
And as far as integrating him into the community and into the setting, yeah.
I think in a situation like that, maybe some education for the church members about what the person is going through. You know, not knowing his situation, it's hard for us to answer exactly what we think we would do. But I think educating your church community about mental illness and how to deal with mental illness. If your team members have already had some experience with setting boundaries and him respecting those boundaries, then educating the rest of the community about that might be the way to go. But maybe that's a question that we would need to have a little more information on as to
and a little more research.
That.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's another question: how are training topics determined? I'm thinking that's for the 59-minute meetings. It's meeting specific. A great example is for every team, there's a specific need, and for those needs, there's a lot of relevant information that can be shared. We had a team that I trained in a group that was for a teenager who just had a baby. She was living with her single father. She was very young. And the team got together to care for this baby and to care for the mom, and also to help support the single dad who worked 2 jobs. And one of the trainings that they had during their education time was a nurse came in and told the team how to appropriately wash your hands. When I heard about this, I thought, okay, that was interesting. Everyone on that team was so excited. Do you know you need to do it for 26 seconds? You can do the alphabet. And you know that by washing your hands that this happens and this happens. And do you know how many germs that we bring in? Because there's 10 of us coming in every week. It was amazing. So it is creative, and there are a lot of resources out there as far as finding training. Henrietta addressed if someone's going through cancer treatment, maybe having a medical professional come and talk. There are books. I've had support teams who have read a book on the subject that was dealing with the person who was receiving care, and they had a little book study amongst them, how to use that.
Mm-hmm. What is the smallest team that you've ever found to be effective?
Yeah, so teams need to be about 4 to 5 members as far as small size, so that there's not too much responsibility on one person. But teams can also, I'm going to go to the other side of that question, they can also be too large. We really recommend, depending on the circumstances again, but overall, you probably don't want a team with more than 10 or 12 members. But if teams are smaller, then you're not sharing as much of the care, and the responsibility becomes a little bit more for each person.
That's right. So the last question we have here, and please keep them coming still, we have a little bit more time. We facilitated mental health training. Is this an expanded version of mental health systems, I'm guessing, different, or the MHFA? So the mental health training that we will be providing is specifically for support teams, how to actually run a team for someone who is going through mental health issues and a crisis, and also trauma, because those things come together so much now. So that will be different than what you have had.
Henrietta is a therapist,
Yeah.
and she's put this piece together because it's not for the people receiving the care. It's to understand how to train the team members and some expectations and ways to make sure that they're prepared for some of the special needs that arise with those who are suffering from trauma and mental health issues. Like the instance that you talked about earlier, someone had asked the question without someone who's dealing with mental health and the way they were appropriate with people in public.
Right.
We kind of try to address how can you train the team members to know what to expect or be prepared when things do arise with these very delicate situations and special needs.
And how not to re-traumatize people, how to understand what their needs are, even though we may not think of that as being a need. For example, we have a person who has issues with cleaning her house, and a person from our church came in and cleaned her house for her. And that was a traumatic experience for the person who was going through this mental health crisis. Now, our church friend did not know that this was going to be an issue. She had no idea that this was actually a coping mechanism that the person with the mental health issues was using as a way of coping. So she took that away from her, and we had a crisis on our hands a little bit. So those are the kinds of situations we'll be talking about, how to prevent that and how to make sure that the support team functions really well around these very delicate issues.
Okay, so we have another question. Does your training cover how teen care receivers are identified and the care team the right size for the situation? Yeah, we do. So yes, we do. In the training, we go through how do you find a friend? How do you interview the friend? How do you create a covenant with the friend? Then once you get all of that done, we talk about the different ways to build a team around them and to meet their needs. And then we talk about how to create a covenant with the team members and how to set endpoints and things like that. So the answer to that question, yes.
And there will be a registration fee. I think someone was asking, is there a cost? There will be a registration fee, and that will be set when we're ready to
by advocate.
By advocate. So are teams within one faith community, or can there be within the broader community, or both?
The answer to that is yes.
Both.
A great example is, I told you the team about the woman who was suffering from Alzheimer's and the team for her husband. The people who started the team for the woman realized that her husband needed a little support too. And so they went to he's retired, but they went to people that he worked with. They went to a church that he did some service projects for and things like that. They went and contacted some of his neighbors. So they brought in people from all over as a way to care for him, but that created the broader community. I can't emphasize enough the flexibility and the ways that it can be changed for each individual need. Even though there's a structure, it's still flexible and pliable and able to apply to many different situations.
Yeah, support teams are a great way for caring for those people in your own congregations, but also as a way of reaching out to those in your community. So it's a great in-reach, but also a great outreach tool that you can use.
Are there any other questions that you all have?
What if someone wants to leave a team?
Oh, so that's a really big point, is that because you have clear boundaries, because you have open discussions, people are allowed to leave at any time. If they're not comfortable being on a team, if they don't feel that this is the right situation for them, if their life situation has changed and they just don't have the time, we really train that it's important to use grace and forgiveness and acceptance when you're on teams. That's a big part.
Absolutely. Teams can be made up of people from within the congregation or from neighbors or friends, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Exactly. And that is how it becomes a great outreach tool as well. So I think care teams seem to be focused on individuals. What about teams working for a group?
Shut-ins, for example. Yeah, so that's more the facility model where a group of people are cared for by another group of people, and you provide usually one thing. It could be different things. So let's say it's shut-ins, and that would be more like the facility care. So a group of people would go and visit all the shut-ins, might take them flowers, might give them cards, might go and sing with them or whatever. So you
Yes.
can have a group of people care for another group.
Yes, exactly. The example that you mentioned with the singing group, they go to different facilities, different retirement homes and facilities to sing for people, and now they're being requested by the individuals who live in those facilities to come back and sing for them.
I think the requests are getting pretty
Yes.
current and
Yes.
pretty often. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So we're going to go ahead and respect your time, and we're going to finish our webinar right here. If you have any more questions, or if you would like to talk about support teams further, here's our information, our contact information that you can email us at info@intentionalenergy3.com. You can call us. You have our mailing address. You have our website. And we would love to talk further with you about how support teams can really be a part of the life of your congregation and your community, wherever you are. And we look forward to seeing you at the next trainings that we'll be providing through Advocate Aurora Health. We thank you all for coming, and thank you, Kirsten, again for hosting. Like I said, if you have you will have access to the slides. We can send you the slides. We're also recording the webinar, so we will send you that link if you would like to watch it again or share it with others as well. So we will have that ready for you.
And thank you guys. Obviously, you know our enthusiasm.
Yes. We
Somebody...
hope it's contagious.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks very, very much to both Marianne and Henrietta. We really appreciate it, and more to come. They're great trainers, and we hope that everyone will find a way to engage with support teams. It's a great model. So thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Bye-bye.